take your efforts forward in helping more people. Now, coming to the talk, I would like to share my screen. And it will really help if people can mute their audios, and that way everybody can have a clear audio. And can you see my screen? Yes?
Yes,
Can
Sam.
anybody answer me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. You can see the slideshow, right? The slides on the left and the main slide on the right. Is that how you see? I know some of you are joining from your cell phones. I'm just trying to make the talk as clear and interesting as possible. So is the screen clear to you and my voice clear? Yes?
Yes, Miss Sam.
All right. Okay, great. So let me introduce myself again. I'm Samarapana Konda. Ever since I've moved to California, since people cannot pronounce my name, Samarapana, I've shortened my name to Sam. So that's where I got the Sam from Samarapana. But back at home when I was in India too, a lot of people still called me Sam in college. So it wasn't like a really new name, but something that I'm used to, but more adapted when I came here. I live in California with my husband Venugopal and 2 boys, Enoch and Emmanuel. They're 12 years and 8 years of age. And we live in San Jose, which is also called Silicon Valley. And the introduction to myself also leads to the introduction of my talk. So it's not just bragging about myself, I'm trying to make a connection into my talk. So I hope you're paying attention. So the place where we live is Silicon Valley, which means it is a home to a lot of companies. So companies like Apple, Google, HP, Cisco, Adobe, Facebook. In the sense, what I mean home is they're all birthed here. It's not that the companies are present here. They're all birthed here. They were founded over here. So it is a great place to live. There are great universities like Berkeley and Stanford too, very prestigious universities of America. And even the new medicine that came out for COVID-19 is from Gilead Sciences. That also is right here in Silicon Valley. And people love to live here also because it has great climate. I mean, rest of the United States, the climate is very cold, it snows. Snow looks beautiful, but if you want to live your everyday life, it's a hassle. So people love to come here because it is very tropical year round. It gets cold 6 months, but it does not snow. So when you want to take your car out and go for a drive, you don't have to shovel snow and you don't have to deal with all that. So people love to come here. But that is all the blessing side. The hassle side of this is it is very expensive to live in this neighborhood because of the tech companies, because of highly paid people living here. It is very expensive either to rent a home or buy a home. So when we started looking for a house, it almost took us a few years to find something in our budget range. And when we did finally find it, we found something way below market price. That was a blessing, but we found something that had work on it. We had to put some work into it. So when Mr. Sunil sent me the topic remodel to be a role model, I kind of smiled because we literally remodeled every room in our house. Let me put this up. So I have very personal memories to it. I have a lot of experience going through remodel. And remodel is something that is a process. Sometimes when we think of remodel or renovation, it's not actually repair. It is a process. And let me put this up for you. It has 4 steps to it. Remodeling has 4 steps. The first is you have to see it. And as I go, I will explain to you more further, but you have to see it. And then you have to strip it, you have to select it, and then you have to set it. So in these 4 steps, let me first start by telling you what remodel is not. Remodel is not a repair. You know, it is not some little screw got loose, or some paint touch-up job, or something is broken, let's fix it. It's not a repair. Remodel is a transformational process. Now I'm using 2 screens to make it easy for me. So I'm going to be showing you these 2 rooms right here. You see, the transformational process between these 2 rooms is just remarkable. The first room is over here, and this is the second room. This wall over here is broken. The room is opened up. There's more light in the room. They did keep the fireplace. There's a door over here, right here in this picture, that they seem to have closed it up. So remodel is not a repair. It is a transformational process. Same thing over here. They did keep the bookcase over here, but it's a completely new bookcase. The windows over here have been turned into doors. And sometimes when you go through remodel, the function of the room itself changes. So what remodel is not? Remodel is not a repair. What remodel is it's a transformational process, and it changes the appearance, structure, and function of the room. But when you are going through that transformational process, I really like this topic because so much is parallel between a house going through a remodel and our life going through the transformation process.
In
We are
detail,
right
as
now
you know,
living
how
in a
does a civil
time.
servant work? What are the stages? Yeah, how can we work effectively so that we don't break our ethics? He made stressed on how to work without breaking the ethics, the morals, and also give us an example as
Is
in
that
this
okay?
the
Can I
local
keep
businessman
going?
was
I
posting
just
to
want to make
avoid
sure that.
this local people
One
to
second, Sam. Kishore, could
but
you
then how that
mute,
sir has
put
overcome that
Pavan Josh
frustration
on
with
mute,
the government
please?
order, that's when I accepted. And then the minister was quiet. That example just inspired me a lot, sir. The way he thought and tackled that minister, no matter how much work he has,
I just
it
don't
was
want to
just
confuse
marvelous, sir.
everybody with 2 different topics going on at the
Yes,
same time.
yes, Sam, I know. Sorry for the interruption.
No, no
Kishore,
worries.
Kishore or
These kind
Sunil,
of
can
things
you?
are usually common things that happen.
Yeah, Kishore and Sunil, either of you, can you put Pavan Josh on mute, please?
Hello?
Yes, sir,
Hello?
not done. It's happened. It's done. It's done.
Hello, I'm Pavan Josh.
Yeah, Pavan, can you go on mute, please? Yeah, thank you. Sam, you can
All
resume.
right. Yeah,
So,
thank you. So what I meant to say is remodel and transformational process in our lives are so similar because, you know, remodel is not a small change. It's not a repair. It's a complete redo. It changes everything. So right now, what we are going through with this COVID-19 situation, if we want to change as a person, if we want to go through that transformational process, it's not a small change. A little bit of change in your life will not be enough. As a whole world, things are changing so rapidly. I mean, for us over here, one day everything was going fine. The next day they said everything is shut down. So everything completely changed. And now as things open up, things are going to be very different. The workplace is going to look very different. How we connect to people is going to be different. How we socialize is going to be different. Everything is going to change as we know it. But how can we be prepared? We cannot be prepared if we are just making small changes. If we are making, you know, tiny bits of change. Oh, you know, I think I should up level my skills, so I'm going to be reading a few books. Oh, I think I should be, you know, inculcating more better habits. You can't just make small changes. It has to be a complete transformational process. And sometimes when you're going through transformation, it can look messy, like you see here on the slides. It can be a messy process. When we started remodel of our house, It was so messy. Everything had to be broken down. Sometimes in our lives, when we go through change, it can be very messy. We can go through a process of breakdown. We feel desperate. We feel like everything is falling apart. Isn't that how some people felt, especially people in restaurant industries? Suddenly the restaurants closed. They lost their jobs. Nobody is getting a paycheck. It is a desperate situation. I'm sure a lot of people are considering career change because some careers are doing okay, like the software field, work at home jobs. I know there might be effects coming later, but there are some jobs that have been hit really hard right now. So when as a whole world there is stuff changing so rapidly, we can sit and play small. We can say, okay, I'm going to just make small changes in my life and I'll see how it goes. No, you have to make a decision to go through this transformational process as a whole change, a structural change as a person. You know, we are used to spending so much of our time on our jobs, right? Helping the company grow, but we take very little time growing ourselves, investing in ourselves, improving ourselves, right? That has been the case up until now. But I want to tell you this transformational process is something that will actually help you change as a person only when you start investing in yourself. So let me talk about the first of the four S's, right? First, see it, strip it, select it, and set it. First, see it is before you start a remodel, before you start the transformational process of your life, or let's, for example, just talk about a space. You're remodeling a space. You have to first see what the space will look like. What is it that you want it to become? What is it that you want it to transform into? You have to first see it in your mind. Only when you see it in your mind, you will bring it into a reality. If you have, remodel is kind of like a little bit of a construction, you know, but it is not new construction. And the interesting thing about it is when you walk into a new construction, you don't have a comparable. You just walk into a new building and you're delighted of how wonderful it looks. But when you walk into a remodel space, the delight is doubled. You know why? Because you know how it was. You know how bad it looked, how crappy it was. And now you have a comparison. So because you know how bad it was, and now you're seeing of how wonderful it became, there is more delight. So it's the same thing with a transformational process. Everybody did not have a same start to life. Everybody did not uh, are not born with the same opportunities, with equal amount of opportunities. But because of this transformational process, because of this renovation, this opportunity we have in our lives, because of the four things that I'm going to tell you about, we will have equal endings. There is an opportunity for equal endings. Just because somebody was born into a rich family doesn't mean he will always end up with his life continuing in the same way. And just because somebody was born into a poor family and had all this bad circumstances around him doesn't mean that he has to end his life that way. So the first step to transformation is you have to see it. You have to see where your life can go. Without having that vision in your mind, you cannot start the process, right? If you want to go somewhere, you have to have a map of it. You know, first when we moved here, everywhere we went, we had to print out maps because we didn't grow up here. We don't know the routes, especially when we took like long drives to go tour some places. We had to print out everything. And then came the smartphones that had, all these GPS systems. But like 15, 16 years ago, there was no GPS, especially in the cars, or there were no smartphones. So you have to have a GPS for your life. You have to have a vision for your life. Homes have, construction plans, and renovations have blueprints. But I want to ask all of you here on the line, have you discovered your purpose? It is something that has already been given for you. I believe that we are all created in the image of God. And we have this belief that we are here on this earth for a purpose. But have you realized what it is? For building a small home that's, there to serve us, we want to have a plan. We want to make sure that everything is constructed well. Well, how about for our lives? Our lives are much more valuable than homes. Do you have a plan for your lives? Have you thought about it? So when you see it, you will be able to have it. You need to have a vision. Even before, take for example, a painter. They don't just randomly start painting. They have something in their mind that they see first. They are envisioning something. And then when they start painting, they match it with what is there in their mind, and they start drawing it. So where do you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I know some of you are very motivated people, action takers. What has brought you this far is not going to bring you further, right? What needs to change in you? How do you see yourself growing in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Another thing is, do you have clear written down goals? A lot of times we feel like, oh, this year I'm going to work on this, or you probably have something in your mind thinking, okay, I think I should achieve this goal. But do you have a clear written down thing? Because when you have something clearly written down and you have that image in your mind, then you will be able to manifest that image. God has given us 6 intellectual faculties. And as you can see here on the screen, 6 of these intellectual faculties are imagination, reasoning, our memory, our perception, our will, and intuition. Sometimes we only talk about intuition, sixth sense. We say, I felt it in my sixth sense that this was going to happen, right? So the 6th intellectual faculty is intuition. You feel that, you have that gut feeling. You know it in the depths of your being that something good or something bad is going to happen. Intuition is an intellectual faculty that God has blessed us with. But just let's talk about imagination, okay? We all have imagination. We have that gift to use it for our benefit. But you know what we do? Most of the times we use imagination to work against us. We use it with fear. We build these scary images of how bad life is going to be, especially we all can identify with coronavirus situation, right? Sometimes when we are suddenly overcome with fear, we feel like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen to my family? What if I get sick? What if I get bankrupt? What if I lose my job? We imagine all these things instead of taking that imagination and using it to help ourselves. Why don't we imagine the other way? What if there is a great medicine that comes out and everybody, even though they get it, they get better, and the economy is going to get better? Or I'm going to be doing these kind of things to help people, to help the people who are less fortunate, or I'm going to do this for my business, or I'm going to take my career up a notch, I'm going to develop these skills. So instead of using our imagination to help ourselves, we use imagination negatively to hurt ourselves. And I don't want to go into other 5 intellectual faculties. I'll save it for another time, but these are great faculties that we've been blessed with, but we rarely use it. We seldom put it to work. So my point here is, the first S is see it. Do you have a written down vision for your life? Long time ago, a person called Martin Cooper, he came up with the idea of cell phone. He envisioned in his mind, hey, what if people can actually go out, even if they've driven so far away from home, and still be able to talk on the phone? Wouldn't it be nice for people to communicate with each other even after leaving their houses? So he collaborated with Motorola and he brought the concept of cell phone, which Apple took it and they took it to a completely new level. So every idea is born twice. It's born first in the mind of a person, and then we have it in our hands. Every object, everywhere you look around your house, whether it's a bed or a computer or a desk or a chair, Everything was imagined in the mind of the creator first, and then it came into existence. So what are you creating in your mind? Where are you seeing your life go? How do you want to see your life 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? What is your vision for your life? That is my first question. My second thing is, actually, let me back it up a little bit and ask you one more thing. I'm just going to touch on goal setting for a little bit, because when you have a vision, your vision and your goals kind of go together. Okay, but once you have a vision, you have to put it into practice, right? It has to have wheels to keep going. So I probably think you might already know about these concepts of goal setting, SMART goals, of how you should be specific. Let's take, for example, everybody has become very health conscious suddenly, because only people with really good immune systems is able to fight this virus and survive. So everybody is Googling up how to build great immune systems, how to have a strong immune system. And obviously, if you are sitting and eating sweets all day and sitting on the couch, you're definitely not going to be having a great immune system. So they probably think, I should become healthy, right? That's a goal. I should get healthy. But it's not a specific goal, although it looks like one. It's not measurable. It doesn't involve any action. It's not, well, it is realistic, but it's not time bound. So you haven't set those parameters yet. So a lot of times when we set goals, it has to be specific. I should lose weight. Say you are overweight or obese, or you are not in the healthy range. Your specific goal would look like, I have to lose 10 kgs, or I have to lose 20 pounds. And then it has to be measurable, right? So your 20 pounds is a measurable weight. You can actually track every time. Say, for example, 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you go back and weigh yourself. Oh, I've actually reduced 2 kgs. So that's actually a measurable goal that you can track your progress. The next thing is actionable, right? You say, because you have a goal of reducing weight, your actionable thing is, I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day. So right now it has become an action taking thing. Or you say, every day I'm going to eat 2 or 3 different kinds of vegetables. So what I'm trying to tell you is, your goals have to be specific. You can't say generally, oh, I have to become healthy. Or you can't say, I have to be careful with my finances. Well, what does that mean? What is the specific thing you're talking about? You want to save money? How much you want to save? You want to save 1 lakh rupees? By when? In 3-4 months? You have to set a specific, measurable, time-bound goals. I'm sure you probably have heard about this. I don't want to take too much time talking about this. A lot of times we talk about having realistic goals. Realistic goals are great, but I've added this other thing. You have to have some risky goals. You have to take risk. You have to bet on yourself to grow yourself. Anybody who's an entrepreneur, anybody who has started a business or has grown to, excuse me, I'm getting tongue tied. Anybody who has grown to higher levels, either in their careers or in their business or whatever they're doing, they have taken certain risks. Risk taking goes hand in hand with goals. You can't always set goals that you see are possible. Then you're not stretching yourself. So that's another part of goal setting. Right now, over here, what I have is GPS. You need to have a GPS for your life. What I mean by that is, when you have a goal and you have a path to it, you also have to realize that there will be setbacks. Now, coming back to our example of remodeling a house. When you go through a remodel and you start the process, it will always not go according to what you have planned. There will be some setbacks. You will either not find the exact material that you're looking for. There is a certain material that you started the process, but there is a shortage of it, or your contractor did not come, or you finally found a shortage of money. something will happen. Or maybe if it is a construction that is outside, a remodel outside, the weather doesn't cooperate, maybe it starts raining. So always when you have goal setting, make sure that you are prepared for the setbacks, because if you don't consider that part, it will just throw you off and you'll feel discouraged and you'll feel like, I'm just going to give up on my goal. Just because your plan is not working, you're not supposed to give up on your goal. Your goal is the goal. The path to it can change depending on what setbacks you face. All right. So what image are you holding in your imagination? What are you seeing? Now, when Mr. Sunil shared with me what your expectations are for this webinar, I think there were 2 or 3 people. Now, I don't know your names. I don't know most of you, except a couple of people. I don't know any of you here, but some of you have written that your goal or your aim is nothing. When I looked at it, I felt so sad, because if you aim at nothing, you'll absolutely hit it every single time. That is exactly what you get in life. If you want nothing, it's right there. You will get it. It's okay to aim at something so high and hit it at 50% than aim at nothing and hit it 100%. So please, for those of you who are still very vague and you're aiming at nothing, I would ask you that you would consider to aim at something that is bigger than yourself. Let's get to the next one. Am I taking more time? Please let me know if this is going beyond time. I will speed up. The moderators can let me know how much time I have left. I have 3 more things to cover, but it won't be as long. Mr. Ravinder, would you let me know?
Yeah, you can go for next 5 to 8 minutes, Sam.
5 to 8 minutes. Awesome. All right. So the next thing is stripping. What stripping means is you're removing something, right? So when you start a remodel, when we first bought our home, this home had a carpet. The flooring was a carpet. But we didn't want carpet because carpet has some dust issues, and our sons don't deal with dust very well. They have allergy problems. So we had to remove the carpet. The thing with our lives is, if we want to transform, there are things that we should remove. I can't bring tiles or hardwood flooring and put it on top of the carpet. That's not the proper way of doing things. If you want to change your kitchen counters, you have to remove the old counters or the cabinets and bring in new things. So the same thing with our lives. The second step to transformation, you have to strip some things. What do you have to strip? You have to strip some wrong mindsets. You know, a lot of times for whatever reasons, we grow up with wrong mindsets. We maybe got it from our parents, we maybe got it from the teachers, from the society that we live in. We get into this wrong mindsets of, example, making excuses for everything and passing off responsibility. We play this blame game, right? We don't take responsibility for our lives. Well, you know, I didn't get to do this because he did that, or because he did that, I can't do this. So we don't take responsibility for our lives. We don't take responsibility for the things that have been entrusted to us. And that causes a lot of hindrance in your transformational process. And sometimes even this playing the victim thing, because my dad was like this, or my teacher did this, or my boss is such a hard person, my life became like this. Sometimes we get into this constant victim mentality. When you play victim, what you're doing is you are giving up control over your life. You are saying that I have no control, I cannot do anything about my life, so I'm just going to be like this. My life is going to end this way. Instead of taking charge and saying, no matter what other people have done, I'm going to press on forward. I'm going to be taking charge of my life. So there are some mindsets that we need to strip, that we need to remove. Another thing we need to remove is comparing. Comparing is such a paralyzing thing. It's a crippling game. When we compare with others, 2 things happen. Okay? We either become proud, thinking that we are so much better than other people, or we become discouraged and depressed thinking that we are a nobody. Both of those things, either becoming proud or being depressed, both of those things are wrong. They don't help you with anything. So comparison is a very crippling game, and it doesn't help you move forward in your transformational process. So strip off your wrong mindsets and strip off some negative people. Now, how many people can attest that there is at least one negative person in your life who is toxic, who is discouraging, who always drags you down, who doesn't encourage you? Their presence itself just is so suffocating. We all have somebody like that, right? An interesting thing with walking, when you are in communion with those kind of toxic people I'm talking about, when you are walking, what happens is there's a magical thing that happens. Okay, you either slow down to that other person's pace or you pick up to their pace. So when you're walking, you always walk in pace. So my question for you is, who are the toxic people in your life, and whose pace are you slowing down to, or whose pace are you walking at? You know, if the negative people or toxic people are people of your family, it's very hard to deal with them. But this is what I would recommend. I would recommend that you would reduce your time, especially when you have something important that you're working on, especially related to your goals or your vision or your dreams. You would reduce your time, and that you would not share as much. You know, by doing that, you are actually taking control of less friction in your life, and you're removing that negativity from your life. Okay, the other thing that I want to stress, even if I don't have time to cover the rest of the things, is this: there are certain things that you need to strip out from your life, and that is wrong habits and routines. You know, I'm a part of John Maxwell team, and there was a conference that John Maxwell held, and every person who came to that conference had to pay $2,000, and there were about more than 2,000 people at the conference. So the conference was going on. There was an MBA student sitting in the front of the audience, and he was taking down notes, and he was just admiring at how John Maxwell was teaching. And for those of you who don't know John Maxwell, he's one of the greatest motivational teachers here in US, and he also works for the government in representing, the American government to foreign nations. He goes for peace talks and does things like that. But if somebody has to invite him for a special talk, he charges a fee of $150,000 for one talk. I don't know how much it is. It's probably, I think, 50 lakhs. No, I think it's about, yeah, 50 lakhs, somewhere around that, for just 1 hour of his talk. So he delivers like really great motivational talks. Okay, so this person is listening to him, and when it was break time and it was book signing time, you could go up to him and talk. So this MBA student goes up to him and he says, "John, I want to do what you're doing. I really love what you're doing. I want to do what you are doing." A lot of people over here also said that you want to be role models. You want to become leaders. You want to be somebody who people can look up to. You want to be an influencer, right? So this person also was like, "I want to be like you, John." So John said, "Well, what do you mean you want to be like me?" He said, "Well, I want to write books like you. I want to speak like you. I want to give all these motivational talks like you. I want to host conferences like you." So John said, "Young man, it's very easy for you to do what I'm doing. You can write books, you can host conferences, but are you willing to do what I did? Doing what I do is easy, but are you willing to do what I did?" You know, a lot of times we want to do something great, but we really hesitate. We back off from putting all that effort that goes in the background. The man was looking at, oh, 2,000 people paid $2,000 each. That means it's $2 million for one conference. John Maxwell has earned $2 million for one conference. That's such a big, huge amount of money, and I want to do that. But the thing is, the young man's not realizing what John Maxwell did, how much effort he put into growing himself. When John was earning a very small salary, he took 3-4 months of his salary and invested into personal growth. He hired a coach that developed him and invested in him and helped him grow to the person that he is. A lot of times we want to become something, but we don't want to make the investment of either money or putting the time or hard work or discipline that's involved. A lot of things that we need to strip off are wrong habits. You know, success does not happen in one day. It's a daily thing. And that's why they say the secret of your success is in your daily routine. And this is another John Maxwell example. He says, if I can tell you, if you want me to tell you if you're going to be successful or not, let me come to your house and observe you from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. From the time you wake up till the time you go to bed, if I can see you just for one day, I can tell you if you're going to be successful or not. See, a lot of time we have uphill aspirations, right? We want to do something great, but our daily habits are downhill. Uphill aspirations with daily downhill habits will not take us anywhere. It will not help us to become transformational. It will not help us to become role models. And it will only help us to become victims if we are constantly, every day wasting time, every day just whiling away in victim mentality, blaming other people and not stripping off these wrong habits. So when you look at a champion, we think that, oh, champion, he's made in the ring. He's not made in the ring. He's only recognized there. You don't see how many days he's been waking up every morning and putting all that effort into practice, practice, practice. Champions are merely recognized in the ring. They're not made there. And the final thing is, whatever we practice in private, we are rewarded for that in public. So what are you practicing in your private? If you're wasting your life, well, that only shows up in your public. Even if you have success for a little bit, it will only be a short-lived success. The next thing I want to talk about is selection. Now, you've gone through this process of seeing how it's going to look. You have a vision, and then you strip, you remove all these wrong mindsets, toxic people, you remove, bad routines and habits. Now you are going through the selection process of what you want to really build. Like for us, when we remodel this house, we had to go and buy the material that we want to bring. So in this section, I want to talk about decisions and choices, because we live and die by the decisions we make. Now in America, the governments are opening up, right? But the decisions we make as individuals of where we go, whether we may wear masks or not, whether we take care of how we disinfect or not, every decision and choice we make is a life and death situation, right? The decisions we make determine our destiny. A lot of times we think that somebody's decisions are affecting us. Of course, there is a certain amount of truth in that, but the decisions we make will determine our destiny. And sometimes we think that, oh, I haven't made a decision on that, but even not making a decision is still a decision. Just because you're delaying it, it's still, you are making a decision even on that. And two things I actually wanted to touch over here is, sometimes, especially young people, they make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. The other day, somebody wrote a personal note to me on my channel. They watched a video, and she wrote, whichever job I get into, there is some kind of fear, and I resign the job. I'm not able to stay in a job. Like that, I actually changed 4 different jobs. And right now, because the economy is going down, now I feel sad of why I quit the job. See, sometimes we make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. Maybe she got ticked off by a colleague, whatever they did. I don't know what happened to her. But not making decisions based on our feelings is a great thing. Our feelings are very fickle. So make decisions. Our decisions determine our destiny, whether we, you know, are going to thrive or we are going to succumb to the situations. The next thing I want to talk about is, last thing is setting it, stationing it. So I want to give an example of when we were remodeling our kitchen. Okay, there was this big slab of white granite that we bought, and I've envisioned it. I have my vision of this beautiful kitchen, and then we stripped off everything. We removed the old counters and whatever else need to go, and then we selected this beautiful white slab of granite, and it was time to bring that granite inside. You know what happened to me? At that moment of bringing that large piece of granite, I started feeling scared. I'm like, okay, let's not do this today. Why don't we do it tomorrow? You know, I don't know what it was. Maybe the fear that the piece of granite might break, or maybe the fear that, you know, they won't do a good job putting it. You know, sometimes the exact same thing happens to us. We envision it, we want it, we are looking forward to it. But when it comes the time to take action, some people are so crippled by fear. There are so many different kinds of fears, you know, the fears like what people would think. You know, being in US, different people, you know, crack jokes of how different ethnicities behave. One day I saw a clip on the internet that said the only people who worry about what other people think are Indians. And I thought that was so true. From the time we are born, as we grow up, may it be our parents or society around us or relatives, the main theme of their everyday song would be, hey, what will people think? Manushulu emankuntaru? Log kya kahenge? It's always like, what will people think? We literally run our lives by people's opinions, always taking opinion poll. Oh, what do you think? Should I do this or not? Should I, you know, take this career or not? We always base our opinions on people, and sometimes we are so crippled by what people think. Another fear is fear of failure, again rooted in what people will think, because if you fail, then you'll become a laughing stock and people will laugh at you, so you don't want to take risks. Another fear is rejection. Well, if I do this, they will not like me, so they will start rejecting me. There are so many different kinds of fears, even the fear of inconvenience. You know, we always want to be comfortable eating our bag of chips, sitting on the couch, and we want the life to run smoothly. It's not going to happen. I want to tell you, don't be captive to other people's opinions, because comfort and convenience will run the lives of unsuccessful people. You know, if you think about this situation that's going on around the world, the only way to transformation for you to really prepare with your skills, prepare with you know, up leveling yourself, growing yourself, is if you really go through a drastic transformation. If you go through a tiny repair, it's not going to work. It has to be a complete transformational process. And the difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people now, because the job market is going to be in tumble, people who really get into jobs are people who are really skilled, who are really standing out, because companies want only the best, because there are only few jobs available. There are so many layoffs. Millions of people have been filing for unemployment here in America. But the difference between ordinary and extraordinary, and if you want to be that extraordinary person, is that little word, extra. Are you willing to put that extra effort? As you're in this lockdown, how are you using your time? Are you aware of your giftings? Are you aware of what skill you want to develop? There are certain skills that will help you grow in your organization or in your business or in your career or whatever aspirations you have. But are you willing to put that extra investment, time, energy, that mindset required? Because if you're not, you're probably not going to make it in the economy that is coming. So I highly encourage you to take time to put that extra effort. I want to thank the organizers for giving me this time. So I hope everybody see your vision, strip the negative things, select, make good choices, and set it. Take action. All right. The final thing that I wanted to tell is there is a speaker training course that I'm putting together. It'll come out in 6 weeks. If any of you is interested in taking a speaker training course, click on this link. I don't know if this is a clickable link on the slides that is showing. I will actually share it with Mr. Sunil, and he will pass it on to you. So you can go to this link and join on the wait list. It's going to come up in 6 weeks. And the last thing is, if you want to connect with me, I have a channel on YouTube, and then you can connect with me on Instagram. And my email address is over here on the screen. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope this will be a transformational experience for you. I thank you for your time. And thank you, Mr. Sunil, Mr. Ravindra, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Sam, for taking your time and speaking to us. It really motivates us, to remodel our lives. I believe this is going to be definitely a kind of change in our lives. This talk brings a change in our lives. We thank you on behalf of Icon Talks, and also express our gratitude to you. I know this is a quite late time for you. It's a bedtime, in fact.
Right.
But thank you taking time for us.
Oh, it's a privilege and an honor. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.